like me and Michael are on the same page. We're just gonna gang up on Lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, isn't that
Yep.
that's the whole point, right?
We love gangbanging Lucky.
Okay.
And Lucky likes to get gang bang.
I haven't narrowed it down to 1, but I'm at 2, so I'll be deliberating that in my brain.
Hey, welcome back to Anime Casuals. I'm Lucky.
Here I go! This hand of mine is burning red!
And I'm Michael. Realize the only ones who should kill are those who are prepared to be killed.
Johnny.
Your darkness swallowed up my son? Who decided that?
Erupting! Burning!
Now all of you.
Die.
Hey, what's happening, everybody? Welcome back to Anime Casuals. I am Lucky.
I'm Michael, and I remembered my intro.
I'm Johnny.
And we make up Anime Casuals. So today we are doing the, I guess we're doing our duties as anime podcasters, and we're...
I'll be right back. I gotta go to the bathroom. No.
Oh my god. How dare you. I mean, you might as well if we're gonna talk about this. I'm gonna be real with you, Michael. I did not enjoy the way Seven Deadly Sins, it seemed like it decrescendoed all the way to the end. It decrescendoed all the way to the end. By the way, humongous spoilers for Seven Deadly Sins, and
yes.
We will probably be covering a little bit of the movie as well. It's canon, but also the end of the series, season 3.2 or whatever it was, ended up, or was it 4 or is it 3? I can't remember off the top of my head now. Or is it 5?
The anime?
Yeah, is it because it did
4,
it did 4. Okay, so
yeah, but it was 2 parts.
2 parts, yeah. So the end of the 4th season, kind of the movie happens in between.
On Netflix, it's season 5.
Oh, it is, okay. Well,
technically it's 2 parts though.
Yeah, like the movie ends up happening somewhere in between, like the very last episode of season 5 and one of the other episodes. So anyway, we're gonna be talking a little bit about this, giving our general opinions on it, and kind of seeing what each one of us thought about it. But I've already given my preface to the way that I thought it went. Does anybody else want to give like a general opinion of their overall views, and then we'll actually get into what we actually like, the specifics about it?
Well, I'll put it to you like this. I am glad that it followed pretty closely with the manga. I'm always like Food Wars, when that ended, it ended exactly like in the manga. They switched things around to kind of make more sense. Seven Deadly Sins didn't do that at all. Like, it was just like almost shot for shot. And now looking at it, the end of the series was about exactly the same as the manga. Like I had said before, I thought the manga was a little bit bigger at the end. No, it wasn't. It was maybe 7 or 8 chapters, which is about 3 episodes. So like it's basically the same, and it totally does feel at the end like, okay, we've ended. Okay, now here's a extra arc. Okay, that seems out of nowhere, which I wish they had expanded a little bit upon to make it a little bit better. But overall, I have the opposite opinion. I enjoyed it a lot because it wrapped up like almost every question. I guess the movie wraps up at one more question, but I think it was a little unnecessary. Like, it's a little much. Like, if you're just gonna finish the story in a different way, might as well put it in the manga. And just like Food Wars did the same thing. They had like 4 extra chapters to finish off a couple other questions and a couple other like epilogue things. Like I was telling you guys, like the extra little things like between him and Arena and like his trip and other, that was extra beyond the end of the manga. They could have just done the same thing for Seven Deadly Sins, but it kind of feels rushed. So rushed but good is like my opinion about it. Johnny?
Man, it just kind of feels like a mess, I guess, generally. It's not a terrible mess. I mean, there's to a point it's still really good, but then I don't know, it just starts going like wild and crazy, and there's not really any rhyme or reason behind it. I don't know, in my opinion. So that's probably my generalization.
Yeah.
interesting, but yeah, very just abrupt.
Oh, one more thing before we get into it. Do you guys like where the characters ended up?
No.
Okay.
One of them ended up in the ground.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
Man.
Yeah, obviously some people more than others. I'm like, yeah, okay, and then others are in the ground, and I'm like, no, that's
So,
sad.
you guys just want to get into it?
Yeah, let's get into it.
Okay.
So why don't we go like season to season? Because I think this series was the strongest at its second season. I think the first
True.
season did pretty good at bringing some of the ideas forward, and then the second season just kind of blew it up to like epic proportions. Granted, the power level thing I didn't think they needed. I think that was really unnecessary. But
Yeah.
besides that, then the third season came in, and it started getting kind of confusing. You know, with the angel and demon races. You know, we have like the little stuff that happens with Gother, although it's not completely explained until the fourth season, and then even then it starts to get like a little bit more confusing with you know the crazy stuff with my L and all that stuff. So it kind of threw me off. I also feel like the problem with the series as it went on was they didn't know who the main antagonist was. They kept on making up antagonists as they went along. Not making up, right? But they ended up just throwing more antagonists. It's like, okay, this is the antagonist right now. The people, you know, the Holy Knights and Leonis. Okay, now these are the real bad guys, the Ten Commandments. Oh, but now this is the real bad guy over here. And it just kind of kept on getting to the point. And at the end of the series, they were like, bad guy, bad guy, bad guy, bad guy, bad guy, bad guy, bad guy. They just kept throwing them around. I was like, bro, who is the bad guy? And then, you know, we won't get too super into the movie, but the movie, hey, another bad guy. It's like, how are there so many bad guys, man? It's just really annoying me. But I mean, what was your favorite seasons, and you know, what did you think of the seasons overall?
I definitely agree with what you were saying. 2 and 3 are probably the better seasons of the series, and I definitely enjoyed them. The introduction of one Eskenore and the Ten Commandments. Those are pretty awesome. Because yeah, after that, it gets a little crazy with everything they try to fit into the series. So yeah.
I would say that 3 and then the twist of Mael was like one of my favorite. Again, the pacing in the anime is so different from the manga, and that's like, I guess my biggest problem is when you have that like twist reveal of Mael to be like, no, he's a bad guy, like, or well, he's been a good guy or an angel the entire time, but like he comes off as bad, and it's like this whole big trade-off of going, if you just kept pushing on beyond that, I think it would have had a bigger impact to be like, okay, now what does this mean? But the third season or fourth season ends with them going, we got you. And then it just stops. And then we had to wait like 9 months or like 6 months or something for the next reveal and the next part of the series. And the pacing just feels so off with explaining things. Like 2 was so solid because 1 and 2 paired very nicely with each other with the way that the arc works, where they're like, okay, here's the main arc, where we have what's his name? The guy who turned into a gray demon? Dreyfus. Yeah. Or like Dreyfus is the big bad, but Dreyfus is being manipulated the entire time. So it's like
so obscure guy.
Yeah. And that's so good because that like it's every enemy that they have is building to the next one, while like it is muddled to be like enemy after enemy after enemy. That's why I like when they get the 3 and 4, because then you're like, oh well, the big bad has always been, you know, the 10 Commandments and the Demon Lord. And if you trace it back to the first season, you can kind of see that building off of each other, that the 10 Commandments have been manipulating everybody to basically like bring them back and let them win the war. And the entire thing is about the holy war between the demons and the angels, like the end of like most of season 5. That's the resolution. But you don't resolve, like by the end of that, you don't resolve the angels and demons war. It's just like, we took down half of it. Cool. Okay. I guess you did something about the Holy War. Not really, but like you guys sort of just solved half the problem. So it's like, okay, like that's cool. Which is really why I like 3 and 4, because well, they started introducing power levels, but everybody got so badass by that point. It was really awesome. I mean, you can't deny when you see like that reveal of King with the swampy hair and like the cool costume and the big wings. Like that's cool. That was great. Too bad nobody else got that power level boost. But I think that's normal. That's where really why I like 3 and 4 is because we start learning a lot of the backstory of the kingdom, about Britannia and like where it all came from. But I think what's really lost in all of that is like Arthur. Like nobody, like who cares almost by the end of before the end.
Totally forgot about him.
Yeah, like he has plays no good part. And again, that's the difference between the anime and the manga is like the timing between things. Like you and Anime Josh both forgot that Arthur got stabbed in the chest, and he just disappears. And then Merlin's like, "Hey, you remember this guy?" No, I don't remember at all. Like that was a whole season ago. Like, what are you guys doing? Okay, to answer your question though, season 3 and 4.
Yeah, I think the other thing that so here's a question, right? I don't know, like this is just me throwing it out there, but I think if anything, right? Oh god, I hate even making this comparison, but if anything, do you think there's a possibility that in the future there could be a Boruto in terms of the Knights of the Round Table, right? We have Tristan, we have Lancelot. I don't know what Deanne and King are naming their kid, and then we have King Arthur, right? All Knights of the Round Table. So I'm wondering if they have something planned for the future that will maybe eventually get that plot going because we are in the age of chaos. That is one thing I did like about season 5, sorry, is that idea of chaos, right? Because it with good and evil, like it's very defined lines, but with chaos, there's no defined lines anymore, right? You have it's exactly as it sounds like. It's chaos, which we usually think of chaos as being bad, but chaos can be. I think the one of the main definitions of it, or one part of the definition, is unpredictable, right? Whereas good and evil are pretty predictable. And so, what do you guys think about that idea of there being a board or like a spin-off series where we actually get to see the Knights of the Round Table to actually expand upon Arthur and all these other people, Tristan and Lancelot and whoever King and Diane's kid are supposed to be.
Yeah. Well, it looks like there is a spin-off. It's called
Mm.
The Seven Deadly Sins, Four Nights of the Apocalypse. Otherwise, I have no idea what it's about.
Wow, that
don't
insight though.
I don't like it. I feel like it would be riding the coattails of what the 7 deadly sins were,
Yeah.
and if it's just gonna be copy paste, it's a little Meliodas. That's funny. Ha, 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 ha. I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily be interested in that, but I don't know. That doesn't mean they can't make something good, but I just wouldn't think it possible.
Yeah. I agree with Johnny. Like I hated the idea of Boruto in the first place because like you're just writing the coattails of the previous series instead of doing like your own thing. And I don't think that's a smart idea. And because it's more like, why don't you just make a new story in the same world instead of just like this new one kind of seems like that. Like it kind of seems like they're like, oh, and now we're doing a new series in the same world that has nothing to do with the previous one. It's just built in the same world. Like that's fine, but don't include characters people want to see just because people want to see them. Like, oh, we know people want to see Hinata and Arto's kid, so let's just make it all about them. It's like, no, that's like you're ruining. Leave that behind and let people's imagination flow.
Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z is probably a good example of what you should do, or not. I don't know.
No,
It's just telling
no.
I think that's a good example.
Yeah. Okay, so here's a thing for other people. So you know How to Train Your Dragon, right? There's a new series set 1,300 years after How to Train Your Dragon 1, 2, and 3. So it's coming out like sometime next year directly on a streaming service. It's like
1300.
1300. Yes, like a full 1,000 years afterwards. And I'm like, okay, well, who cares about your opinions about How to Train Your Dragon? It's just another story in the same universe that has nothing to do with the previous one, and like at all. Like it's so far away that it has no bearing on both of them. So like, I would be totally fine. It's like, okay, hey, set it 100 years from now. Like you could have Meliodas, you could still have like a couple of people who are gonna live a long time. Kind of like in their vision from the future, where like Elizabeth is like dying and dies, and then Meliodas has to go fight everything by himself. But it, I don't know, you're just ruining the magic of the previous series at that point, because you're like, oh, but we have more stories to tell. It's like, tell them, don't tell them. Just let everybody like have their own imagination about the series, and then we can keep going. Like I love epilogues, but you know, when you're making things that don't matter, it has no relevance on the series.
Yeah, don't force it.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, right? Like I remember, not this is a huge spoiler, but there is an epilogue in Red Dead Redemption 2, right? A lot of people thought that was completely unnecessary. They just thought, oh, and plus it didn't really answer any questions. It kind of just filled in stuff, and I think that's kind of what an epilogue would do here, right? Or like Boruto does. The problem is you'd have to nerf all of the previous characters. It's kind of like when the new Avengers came in. I remember there was this like new Avengers movie where uh, basically like it's a post-apocalyptic place and all these kids have to take up the mantles and stuff. And it just wasn't good, it just kind of crapped on all of the characters that I knew and loved and was like, "Oh yeah, no, these are like worse characters, like worse versions of the characters that you know and love." But everybody else is dead, so just like them. And it's like, "What? No, I don't want to like them. What are you talking about?" So
Eat it.
Like I really like what you said with the power level thing. It's like if you put it too close to the old series, then you basically either have to nerf people or make your new characters incredibly OP. Like what Johnny was talking about with like Dragon Ball Z. Like in Dragon Ball, like Kamehameha was a huge deal. Like when Goku could do that, and by the end of Dragon Ball, like Goku was grown up a bit, but there's nothing like world ending in that. It was like, oh, big bad guy's gonna take over the world. In Dragon Ball Z, it's like, oh, okay, now we're up to people who can blow up planets, and that's sort of where the power level sits. And then you get up to Dragon Ball Super, and then it's like annihilating universes, and like they're building on power levels, and each series they can get a little stronger or a lot stronger, but it makes sense. In Seven Deadly Sins, it's like, okay, what's the next step? Blow up Britannia and the whole world? It's like, okay, like, why don't we calm down?
Well, Meliodas has to go and get some of his power that he just hid away somewhere.
Yeah,
He's got like 4 pockets of it somewhere.
And that's the thing, is like Meliodas like was a demon lord at some point. It's like, so what's beyond that? Is him and Elizabeth gonna fuse together to be like demon god lord, or what? Like, I don't know.
yeah, and I think I think this also brings up do you like the way that they tied everything up? I know Michael, you'd mentioned you like the way that they answered all these questions, and all that stuff. But I think we alluded to the fact that you don't need the answers to all these questions because it adds some room for mystery, and I think we underestimate the like using people's imagination for your own good. You don't have to tell all these stories because I mean I don't know if you guys ever watched like um they're like these Skyrim lore videos that are just freaking crazy, and it's all because they didn't answer any of these questions. They just put little like notes where people would, or that's like where Dark Souls. Like I've never played Dark Souls in my life, but the lore is crazy, and it just goes off all because of these little journals that people read, and they're like, oh my god, there's so much depth to this character that beat the crap out of me for like 5 times in a row. But I think that's what makes it important. Now, uh, why? I think the best part. This is my argument. I think the best part of season 5 was Eskenore's arc. We finally get to see Eskenore, where how he joined the Sins, um, and go through this incredible arc. And I gotta say that was like my favorite part of the whole season 5. Whether it be them defeating the Demon King, or even the future stuff, with Tristan and all that stuff. I think Eskenore kind of stole the show and then just left with the show. I was like, Eskenore, where's the show? Come back. I need sunshine. And but I gotta say, I was really impressed. If I'm gonna give them praise for season 5, it's gonna be the way they handled Eskenore's passing, because I had been spoiled on it. Unfortunately, YouTube has that recommendation thing, and it comes up quite a bit. But yeah, even after I saw everything, I was like, yes, my boy Escanor. By the way, this is how you fucking kill somebody, right? Not like I'm not gonna mention certain games, but it rhymes with Mast of Us Poo. And it this is how you kill a character that's beloved, right? You give him a proper send off, and you give him a little kiss. You give him a little kiss goodbye. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, what did you guys think of the way that they handled Escanor in that last season?
Well, I mean, that's the thing is like, I can't imagine Eskenore going out as his little skinny version, like just living a life and just being happy with that. Like that's not his character at all, and like that's my problem. If like the issue is him dying, the only way he's not gonna die is that if he doesn't have sunshine anymore, because they do make allusions to that throughout the series of like that they repeatedly say his body cannot handle like the power he has. And as it goes on, they do it a lot more at the end of the last couple seasons, but like as it goes on, he just gets stronger like as time goes by, right? And I cannot imagine that like that guy going, "Hey, Mael, take your power back. I will live as a skinny dude for the rest of my life." I'm like, "Nah, you can't match with Merlin, a skinny guy. You gotta be swole as Eskenore." And with that, I am happy with the way it went. I wish he had a little bit bigger of a send off, to be honest, but you know what? It was mostly fine the way it was.
Overall, I'm okay with it. I think there's things I would have liked to have seen that could have been better, because I've made several anime of my own and know how to end them. But man, I think I agree with you Michael, where I just wish they had done a little bit more. I would have liked to have seen him go a little crazier as far as what they did with him, because I mean, we had that fight with Meliodas something like a season and a half ago, where he goes into the one, and I don't know, I really wasn't impressed by that fight. It was cool, but the animation was kind of I just expected more. So I just would have liked to have seen something cool, a little bit cooler, before everybody comes to his aid and helps him. I think one other thing I was kind of hoping for was like a reincarnation kind of thing, almost like a Majin Buu to like Oob thing. I just thought that would have been cool if we see
like the two other reincarnations in the show.
Yeah, I mean, just like some a little bit, and maybe he has like just a little bit of sunshine.
It'd be funny that like it would have been
kid. I don't know.
It would have been a straightforward thing for Mael to be like, "Oh, you're gonna die. Let me do that resurrection thing on you." Like, who did that before with Oslo? I don't remember who sent off Oslo when he died the first time.
Yeah, who was that guy?
Oh man, I can't remember.
I don't remember if it was like, oh, it was one of the 4 archangels, right? No.
Yeah, I think it was. I can't remember their name off the top of my head.
I don't think it was Elizabeth. But like, why not do the same thing for Eskenore? He definitely dedicated his life, so it would have been a fun thing to do. Be like, hey, we'll resurrect. We'll have you resurrect. It doesn't matter what form you come back in. You'll just come back, and maybe he could have been like a little animal companion for Merlin.
No, I don't want that. Merlin didn't treat him right.
Hey,
I don't like that.
He was the only one who truly loved her. Which,
yeah.
Speaking of,
and she didn't love him.
That's
insane.
Yeah. How I thought my favorite part of like the final couple seasons was Merlin's arc, because I don't know, me personally, I love the reveal of her going like you can totally imagine her as a kid. She has a kid-like personality to her, even though she's really smart and intelligent. She's like, oh, you're the first one that like I met after I ran away. and then she develops that like kind of kid like in so many anime where the kid's like, I love you, and it's like, well, you're an adult and I'm still a kid. The adult's not gonna love you back like that.
Yeah.
How'd you guys feel about Merlin's arc and how that resolves, which is gonna get me into the King Arthur thing, and I would like to know you guys' thoughts about that too.
Yeah, I think so for me, I really okay, so I like the twist, right? It felt so rushed, man. Like that could have been a whole season on like all by itself, you know what I mean? And it and then also her the fact that her feelings never really got I'm not saying they had to be returned, but just the fact she never actually got to say anything to Meliodas, you know what I mean? It was only the lady in the lake that ended up like revealing that fact. But Merlin never confirmed it. Merlin never said anything about that. So I would have liked her to at least say, "I loved you, but I wish you guys the best." You know, there's just some closure
Yeah.
on it. I kind of, you know, because they made a really big deal about that. Also, my boy Eskenore got cucked because of that. You know, she was just like,
Yeah.
"Oh, you're the only man that's ever loved me," but she never said, "I loved you" to my boy Beefcake over here that's about to freaking dry up like a freaking sun-dried tomato, homie. You know what I mean? And I just wish that for all that buildup, we would have gotten a scene of her just, you know, saying, "Hey, listen, I'm sorry about this. I couldn't really control my feelings. I'm still emotionally immature, but I still wish you guys the best, and thank you guys for coming back to my aid." You know, just something to kind of close it off. Instead, everybody was just like, all right, looks like you're gonna have to take care, you're gonna have to take care of Arthur, and we will too. And then we'll just bounce. You know, they just
Yeah.
bounced like right after that. So, like I said, I would have liked to see more development in that area than just kind of what happened. Because I like the idea, the twists and everything. It just was too fast. I mean, does anybody even remember that? What's her name? Uh, what's the pig's name again? The giant pig? Oh no, it's somebody's mom, right? It's the
Hawk's mom.
yeah, Hawk's mom is like that's chaos, and I'm like, okay, what? Like what is going on here, guys?
Yeah.
Why is Hawk's mom chaos? I guess whatever, but it just didn't allow enough time for me to process it. So it kind of came and went. It's, to be honest with you, it's like all I remember for the most part is Chaos Pig, Lady in Lake, Merlin Crush, Wild freaking Cat, and Chaos Arthur. You know, like I have little like spark notes of it, but it just didn't go into enough depth to me, to make me actually like remember real big vivid parts of it. So that's just
Yeah.
my take on it.
Yeah.
And I guess that's where the boar hat is just gonna stay now. I mean, I was just thinking about that. Like the pig disappeared, and now it's just gonna sit there.
No, now it rides on Diane's back.
but
doesn't
that's
work.
that's where King's supposed to be. Hey,
At least it works out for someone, not Eskenore.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Poor guy.
wow, Johnny. Johnny, why don't you just tell us how that freaking went? Okay, leave my boy Eskenore out of here.
I mean, like, okay, so like it went by super quick. I don't know. I personally liked where King Arthur ended. I just wish that, like you said, Lucky, that they explored that more. Again, because of the way the anime was shot, it's like King Arthur disappears for like an entire season and then comes back out of nowhere. Because he disappeared like early before Meliodas even became a cocoon, or like right around then. And it's like what a waste to not have ever explored that, because Cat or whatever his name was, like was there and was a weird presence to be there. Like when you were like watching Cat like be explored, it was kind of a malevolent creature to like just sit on him and never get off of him, and it was kind of creepy. But then they just both disappear, and it's like,
See, I would have liked it if they had alluded a little bit more to like Kath being this monster just absorbing chaos.
yeah,
I don't know. They almost made it seem like it was just this weird guardian thing, because I think it tries to save him at one point, which
Yeah.
it makes sense still now. Like, no, my lunch, but I don't know. I would have liked a bit of more like selfishness, I guess, like
Yeah.
reacting like harshly to people, like don't touch Arthur, man.
Yeah, and then also that, do you guys remember like when they showed that there were actually some people that survived? The guy that helped them was a former angel, and I was like, this was such a that was such a cool
Yeah.
reveal. And I was like, but they just kind of skimmed over it. It's like, all right, let's get back to the real stuff. I'm like, that was such a good reveal. Well, we're just gonna leave it. There's no time. Leave it over there. No. That's fine. I think there was just so much wasted potential, and like I don't know, in favor of just skipping or just getting to the point of it. I guess I get that, but there's just I really think, and this is what disappointed me the most, was I really do think that Seven Deadly Sins could have been like as big as like a Naruto in terms of building the universe. Like I really do think
not length, but yeah.
yeah, exactly. It's but in terms of like just the universe building, I really do think they could have gone on for like I don't know, maybe like almost 100 episodes or something like that, and it could have. I think if they would have given that length, or at least 20 more episodes or another
Like a
season.
fairy tale or something, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I think they would have had a really good thing going, but it's like they had to just cut it off. They're like, nope, okay, give the reveal of how this guy is healing. Give the reveal of this person, and to me, it's just so much wasted potential that I just oh man. But
It really felt rushed.
yeah.
I agree, yeah.
yeah. But what were you gonna ask Michael about the Merlin or something like that?
No. You guys answered the Merlin arc question. It was just like, how'd you guys feel about King Arthur by the end? Like, do you guys like where he ended up generally? Like, we all like, if they gave it another 15 episodes, they could have explored that arc a lot better. I personally like where King Arthur ended up. I thought like a King of Chaos was like a pretty interesting idea to throw in, but for 3 or 4 episodes to try to explain all of that, like a lot of that fight was really interesting where like they didn't transport to a new dimension. Like King Arthur just bent everything around him to whatever he wanted, which is the thing is like, how are you guys going to make another series after that? Like, this guy has the power that rivals the gods. Like, where do you go after that? He's like, chaos spawned both gods. And like that whole lore explanation of where everything came from was really fun. Like it kind of tied the whole world together. But you rushed it in 3 episodes. But I don't know. Like, what do you guys like? Beyond it being rushed, do you guys like the last couple episodes? Like that whole like little tiny arc?
I think ultimately, yes, I suppose so. I think, it would have been, I think, a bit more enjoyable if it had been expanded. Not even necessarily 15 episodes. Just give it another 10 episodes, kind of thing.
Yeah, 5 to 10 would
just
be
like
perfect.
it's whatever. And you also got me thinking it would have been cool because we see so much of the Demon Lord if we had seen the Supreme Deity do anything. Because as far as I know, they didn't really. They were just kind of like out there. What's with those faces?
We can't tell you.
Oh. All right.
So yeah, before we leave off, so I like the way that a lot of that that whole part kind of happened. Like you were saying, Michael, I did like the idea of, hey, why don't we? Because without the gods, Arthur is here, and it makes more sense for him to be this holy knight with this holy sword. If there's not like deities just coming down like crapping on him, you know what I mean? So yeah, I do like that idea of wow. Well, even as a religious person, I kind of like it's a very interesting idea, right? Of with religion dead, what do we put our faith in? And we put our faith in chaos. Well, what is chaos? And it reminds me of like Friedrich Nietzsche has this quote. It's called it just says God is dead. And what happens when God is dead? People start freaking out because all of their beliefs are all left behind. All of their everything that they knew is completely off, And so, once that happens, it's up to man to step up and take the place of gods, which sounds crazy, right? But when Arthur comes in, I do kind of like that. So, Michael, do you want to talk a little bit about the movie? Maybe we should just set it up and maybe not spoil too much. But what did you think about it? And what did you think about it? And do you think it was necessary, or do you think they could have gone without it?
Real quick, I wanted to before I answer that question, I wanted to touch on the thing you just said. that little quote you said was really profound, because in the last couple episodes where King Arthur has the battle between evil and good, like he's like, chaos is both evil and good. It's the battle between them that makes it chaos, because if it was one or the other, it wouldn't be chaos anymore. And I love that little moment where he has that internal battle, and then his crazy awesome sword like just goes, it was white and black, and then just goes white because he's like, I'm gonna fight for good. I love the visual aspect of that whole thing. But for the movie, for what I skimmed through, I watched like 15 minutes of the movie, but I kind of skipped through the whole thing. I hate that they use characters who are already shown to be weaker than our current cast and crew. There are characters in it that are like similar characters. Just an example, you know, like how we had like two kings, right? Like we had the first fairy king and we had king. And then there was like a giant and we had our giant. Like those, when we showed, were like comparable, right? Like they were like, hey, the first king was amazing. Now Diane and King, you both have to get to that level. And this is how you do it. Now, in the movie, they do something similar. And it's like, why even show these characters when it's already proven that other characters in this world are stronger than you? And that bothers me, one. And then two, they introduce some bad guys in there that I'm like, you're worthless. We've already shown that the seven deadly sins are stronger than this. So why even wrap up these ends? I that's what I didn't understand. Plus the like the overall goal of the movie, like the big bad like goals, just seem too similar to other enemies we've had. So I'm like, I thought it was mostly useless because we've already had an epilogue that's set 5 years past this point, and then the movie like takes place almost like pretty soon after the main series, which I hate. I really don't like when people set things before, or set things in between a time where characters we know are safe, because you ruin a lot of the aspect of things. And we can name like a bunch of anime that does that, where they're like Naruto did that a bunch, and like One Piece has done that. There's so many series out there, like My Hero's done that, where they set a movie in a time that's before the end of a series, which we're like, we know the main characters are safe. So why even show us this movie if like you're just trying to tell us some more story that we don't need? So I don't know. That's like, I guess my main thoughts of the whole thing is it was cool to explore the lore, but largely unnecessary. But I'm sure the author was like, oh, I want to make sure we're wrapped up on this, so that way I can tell my spin-off series. But it's like, you guys really didn't need to.
Yeah, I think I agree with most of that. I think, you know, one thing that I was surprised that I liked as much, and kind of wish that the anime had gotten in a little bit more, is this relationship between Zeldris and Meliodas. I was actually really surprised at how much I liked it. This brotherly relationship, right? Just because they're so different from each other, right? Like Zeldris is very like tsundere kind of person, and you know, Meliodas just doesn't give a shit, you know. And I really liked
like boobies though.
Yeah, they do. And they got girls who have them, and you know,
Diane in a wedding dress though.
Oh, that's true.
Johnny saw that.
Some big old titties, but you know, with all of that said, yeah, I just felt like it was mostly unnecessary, and it was really, really. I mean, it's a movie, of course, it's gonna be rushed, but yeah, to add that level of of an enemy in a small movie like that, like I was really surprised to see, you know. So I was not really, wasn't super happy with that. I think they could have added that into the season, or just made another season for it. So,
Sorry. I'm gonna add this real quick. When we eventually watch the movie, because we'll watch the full movie, right? So you can get a full send off on Seven Deadly. At some point, somebody dies in it, and it's the most anticlimactic death ever, because the person dies like, and their face doesn't change. Nothing really changes about their facial features, and it's a really unsatisfying end.
Yeah, it's very much like my first sexual experience. It was just not very satisfying.
It was quick.
It was quick, and nobody was
Now I
happy.
understand.
Nobody was satisfied. Yeah.
Yeah, nobody was satisfied. But hopefully you guys are satisfied with our thoughts on the Seven Deadly Sins. Hopefully you guys were able to watch the anime, the movie, and all that stuff. I had no idea what the. I was like, dude, I can't see anything without my glasses. I was like, how many numbers of those? How many fingers of those? But as always, guys, you can check out All Things Casual at the link tree in the description box down below. Also, if you'd like to email us, you can email us at animecasuals with an S, real REAL at gmail.com. But as always, guys, don't forget to keep
It.
Casual.